I got a lot of angry calls after that video. We didn't tell the people we were coming to film them. None of that was rehearsed. That they wanted to do their makeup and their hair and wear different clothes. So none of that was scripted. That is exactly how our staff think and feel, and it was captured perfectly on that camera. And I get so proud every time I watch that video, and I know for you it might have seemed like a bit of brainwashing for Peavey, but that is our company culture, and I thought that that video did a really good job of telling you guys who we are. So I'm going to move into leadership and training, and I'm going to talk to you guys about a tool that we use at Peavey that's kind of revolutionizing the way that we train our employees and doing things a bit differently. We are one of 3 companies in Canada using the system I'm going to show you. We were the first in Canada to use it, and it does things a little differently. The leaders in this room, does everybody knows what a LMS is? An LMS is a learning management system or a learning management software. I prefer the name ELS, which is an engagement learning software, and so I'm going to show you a little bit about what ours looks like and what it does for our company. So we have a site called The Hive. It's kind of a play on words and it's a pun. Peavey sells live bees, and worker bees are an incredible insect, so we just went with the name and we've been liking it ever since. The Hive is a tool where we post training videos, we post communication updates, messages, the staff can connect, and really get to know each other better than ever before, and this brings everybody closer together. A problem many companies have of our size is communication. Communication across 40 chains and now 90 stores. It gets difficult at sometimes. When you send an email, it might go to the store manager, but does it go to all the staff, and how do you make sure that everybody is in the know on the important messages? So we bring you the Hive. This is the entrance screen to the Hive, and as you can see, there's President Message, VP Updates, and Director's Cuts. So our executive team actually posts blogs every 2 weeks for all of our employees in the company. We currently have close to 3,000 employees across the country, and so this is a perfect way for everybody to be in the know at all times. So Doug Anderson actually does a bi-weekly message. Doug's our president. And the engagement that this brings has been just incredible. It's actually astonishing that now when you go to a store, everybody seems to be hyper aware of what's going on in the company. Everybody is okay to talk about things, and well, it's a transparency really. You go in the stores and people are excited to tell you what they saw on our training platform. And the beautiful thing about this system is that people can comment on things and they can rate things. So if they don't like our message and don't like our training videos, they actually can downrate us, and it's embarrassing, but we remove them. We have integrity, so if it's under 3.5 stars, we get rid of it. I don't want that proof on there. So the site does some other great things, of course, like product training, community engagement through marketing. And one of the special things that Peavey did recently was we hired a full-time videographer, and that was a pretty bold move for a company like us to do. But what it helps us do is tell our stories and message how we want to be messaged, mostly to our employees, but also in the community. We don't do a lot with marketing ourselves in the community through what we do in the community, but we do it through storytelling, and we put it on a platform like this so that people in other parts of Canada can see what we're doing and inspire them to also be great in their stores. We have a platform called a discussion page on this system. We have job boards, we have a fitness group. Each store has a fitness ambassador currently leading a weight loss challenge, which I'm part of and I'm hoping to win. We do pretty cool things, and it's all driven through this platform. It's a way for everybody in the company to have a voice and to communicate with each other and connect in ways that we didn't think was possible, all thanks to this platform. Another cool part of the system is the share. We encourage our employees to shoot their own training videos and upload to the system, because what happens when you involve employees in doing training initiatives on their own is other people would love to learn from other people. If my face is on every training video or our training team's face is on every video, it can get very boring, and people today are more engaged around this kind of training, but we also have a shorter attention span when it comes to training, so you have to make it exciting. And a way we do that is by letting our employees upload. Also, if they find an inspirational TED Talk or anything like that they want to share with the team, that's allowed to be uploaded as well. There is a verification process that it stops at if somebody uploads the wrong thing. And I am a fan of Shakira, but I didn't want that on the system. So those were what employee uploads look like. And then another cool thing that we just started doing recently is we take a team of trainers to a store. We'll pick a store that wants to participate in this. So we went down to Strathmore a couple months ago, and everybody brought their cell phones, and of course we brought our videographer with us, and everybody had 6 training pieces, and we worked with the local staff to create the training in the Strathmore store. So the cashier here today, she again, I like to surprise people, so she said, "What are you talking about? I'm training." So she did training on cashier basics. We filmed it, we put it on the system. Everybody in the company can watch it, and the comments we get on doing stuff like this is just incredible. And it brings the employees into this loop, and it makes them passionate and empowers them to want to do more with training, and it really is going to take us further and further. Every single person in the company is on here with a little profile, much like social media. And the great thing about this site, it is a social site. Old learning management systems are pretty dull and pretty boring, and we don't let PowerPoints on this system, and we don't let black and white documents on this system. If anything's on this system, it has to be a high quality video, or else it doesn't make it on. And that's how people learn in today's world. So there is some integrity things that we want to make sure that we're being the best when we go forward with this as well. Lastly, talking about the Hive, another cool part of it is we give everybody a voice. Everybody can communicate at all times through this platform, but we have an ideas board. So this is a place where every employee in the company can go to say that they think that something should be changed or that we should be doing something differently. And I think that that's really cool. And as you can see here, what's nice about it, if people agree, they vote on the idea moves to the top, and then those get looked at by our executive group, and we say, can we implement this or not? And sometimes we don't think of the ideas, which is where we're putting the power in the employees' hands and really letting them drive this platform. Most of what was put on this system has been approved by the executive group in a matter of a couple of days, and we implement it across the board. So it's a really cool system of letting our employees be in the driver's seat. Next, I'm going to talk about community. Community isn't just what we do in the community. It's not just about charity work. It's also about each other and how we feel with each other and how we work with each other and the things we do with each other. Peavey has always supported communities in Western Canada, and we let our employees drive those initiatives. So a lot of what I'm talking about today is really letting employees in the organization do a lot of things with us, and I don't want to say for us, but really that's what's happening. We're letting them decide where they want to go with the company, and we're putting those things into action and letting them have fun with it. Plaid for Dad started only a few years ago in the country, and our employees got on board with it right away across most of our stores throughout Western Canada and our home office. We made it to the top 10 fundraisers in the entire country just based on a small employee initiative that everybody wanted to be a part of. So things like that, opening new doors and letting people have fun. It's always cool when head office sends something out, but it's much more cool when it's coming from another employee's initiative. This is a cute little story, I guess. We had 3 dogs at the office one day. Our head office is dog friendly, as are our stores. And we thought, it's kind of, people are hyper aware right now of dogs and cars on summer days and heat situations. And so I thought, what if we filmed a little video and told people that we were dog and pet friendly? We have been since we opened in the 70s. It's just much more cool to talk about now. So we filmed a little video in our parking lot and got some of the dogs, put a dog in a car. My dog didn't have a haircut, so we fit the part perfectly, and then filmed it. And then film them walking into a Peavey Mart store. And I mean, the beautiful part about what happens when you do, I call it light marketing. We're not really pushing this into people's faces. It's just a story we're proud to tell. It went viral, well, viral for us, which was 140,000 views in a matter of 5 days. And it was shared across the country, and animal rights groups and activist groups and dog campaign groups. And all these groups gave us awards and recognized us for us. And that wasn't the intention whatsoever. We've always been pet friendly. But it's just part of that message of telling the story through community and through marketing. Like you heard mentioned earlier, we do a community ag grant. We give $50,000 to communities in Western Canada, not communities per se, but groups that want to do more in ag and bring some ag focus to farm-to-table type things, downtown farmers markets. Really anything goes in terms of it. And so again, we capture the essence of that on video, and we post it mostly for ourselves because we like to watch the memories. But again, it lets us tell that story through marketing in a really light way. I want to reiterate that it's okay to be different. I don't know what businesses you guys all are, and some might shake their heads because they think some of this is crazy, but we like to be different. So Peavey Mart installed Canada's first. We committed to installing electric charging stations at all of our locations across Western Canada. We had a charging station in Red Deer, was one of our first, way back in 2012. So it's being talked about more and more, but that was kind of a forward thinking, and our company, the fabric of our company, one of them is forward thinking. So this is a way we could do that and give back to the community. They're free. They're not used a lot yet, but we see more and more every day. But it's there if people need it. And it was our commitment to lowering our footprint and also our image in communities. We host a lot of seminars also through our stores for customers, doing things a bit differently there. We sell live chickens and bees, as you heard me talk about. But we didn't want to just sell live chickens and live bees because a lot can go wrong when you're dealing with those kind of animals, and not just a lot for you personally, but a lot in the communities you're in. So to be a good steward of the community and things like that, we thought it was very important to offer community training for free to our customers who wanted to take this. So we often fill 150 people in these training seminars and bring in experts to train them about things like chickens, bees, kombucha, soap making, canning, and all of that stuff, because we want to give back to our customers in a different way. Our pet policy doesn't just include dogs. We get sheep. I think we had pig just last week, and then a miniature horse strolled through the aisles of Stettler once. So very exciting, and we love it. We absolutely have to stop and take a picture of it because we pride ourselves in being that retailer. Every year we hold a barn dance in downtown Red Deer, and a really important part of community isn't always just spending and giving money to charity and giving money to this and that, although that is important. I think doing in community what you can with the resources you have is an important takeaway. It's not all about the dollar, it's about getting people involved in a different way. So for this initiative, it's actually driven by our employee base who volunteers, who sets it up. Our company does, kick in the money to make it happen, but a lot of things can happen like this in smaller scales, and it doesn't always have to be large. It just has to be a commitment of yourselves in the community and what you want to do differently, and this is something we pride ourselves in. So caring, based on everything that we talked about with training and our culture and community, lastly we talk about caring, and I think that this for me is one of the most special things I'll talk about today. Our employees care, and it's part of the culture. It's the fabric of who we are. Culture isn't created by the leaders in your organization, and it's probably not created by most of you in this room. Culture is created by your employees. It is our job to curate that culture, but it is not our job to design it in an office. That would be a mistake. You cannot create a book on culture or a statement on culture of what your company culture is in an office. This has to be done by the employees that are in your organization, and it has to be something you live every day. So the caring part of us absolutely is driven with our leadership team, but it comes from our employees, and we actually, I'm not sure why it's so special, to be honest. I'm not sure where we found all of these amazing people, but part of it's probably hiring to fit. We did a fun little survey recently, and I was going to use some of it in this speech, but I thought, I don't know if it's too cheesy. But in the survey, we talked about our employees and what they did, and an overwhelming number of our employees, 96% of them, are gardeners. They have a backyard garden or garden inside. They're very down-to-earth people, and I think I was not expecting a number that high, to be honest, but that's a hiring for fit. That's who we are. 32% were horse owners. A weird number of people like me and Alex in the back own chickens. There's like 52% of us. This is living the brand and hiring for fit. So we do a really good job of that. 99% own plaid. So I think that says everything we need to know about Peavey Mart. So we have a culture of caring, and it's by the employees that you saw in the video today. We do a lot of things like giving back, and we do a lot of community work. So I'll talk about the wildfires and flooding and natural disasters. As you know, Alberta has faced two of Canada's costliest natural disasters in the last 3 years. They happened right here. They were the worst they've ever been and the worst the country has seen so far. There's fires in Saskatchewan, fires in BC, there's flooding in Saskatchewan, and there's different ways that Peavey goes about doing things for these tragedies. But again, it's really special and really amazing what happens the day of a tragedy like this, or the day the news breaks and our people hear of it. Our phones don't stop ringing, and our email inboxes fill up almost instantly. As a company, we want to commit to helping these communities, but it's quite amazing that our employees say, what can we do? How fast can we act? What are we allowed to do? And we can react usually within a day, but our employees are already holding bake sales and barbecues and doing fundraisers in their communities and raising upwards of $30,000 for these events just by their own passion. But again, it's because we've allowed that to happen. You want people in your stores to take care of each other and take care of the communities they live in. And so I think that that's pretty special as well. We've been able to successfully help it in a lot of ways. One of the most that hits home for me was High River flooding. And it hits home for me because we have a store in High River, and we have our family that works at the Peavey Mart in High River. We had 8 people lose their homes in that flood, completely lose their homes. And so we raised a lot of money for those people through the community work that our staff did. The beautiful thing about that event was this wasn't a fundraiser for something like the Red Cross, and it wasn't a fundraiser for a community group. Our staff fundraised directly for our employees that were affected by those floods. The best day of my career with Peavey so far was when I got to drive to High River and hand employees $5,000-$6,000 checks from other employees. 3 of those employees were not able to work with us anymore, and they told us that they had to leave the province so they could find a place to live because they were sleeping on a floor. So we were able to offer those people that money, even though they were never going to return employment with us, which brings me to what I wanted to talk about, which is called Peavey Cares. Peavey Cares was an idea that was spawned from that exact moment in our company's history. And so Peavey Cares is a platform where our employees can give every single day to other employees with a simple $1 deduction off of their paycheck. So it's a voluntary deduction. Our employees, they have it deducted, it goes into a bank account. There's a board of directors, it's a society, and it's officiated by the government of Alberta. This society is there when our employees have times of need, and it's not just for natural disasters. We have, like many companies, employees that face unfortunate circumstances with families, sick children, where they can't work, they're losing money, or they just need a hand up. This is exactly what Peavey Cares is, and this is why we brought it forward. And the most amazing part wasn't the idea itself of Peavey Cares, it was that in 1 week we had 50% of the company signed up to the cause, and as of yesterday we have something like 63% of our fundraising goal met already. So Peavey Cares is a simple idea to implement, and it's a very important idea for us, but I think a lot of businesses in the room can do something similar for their employees. The comments on here after Peavey Cares from across the board were when can we sign up and how soon can we get this done and how soon can we start helping people? And I thought that was a pretty important thing to tell you guys today, not just because we do it, but I think that it's pretty important and pretty easy for a lot of businesses to react on something like that if it's important to the employee base. Lastly, I see I have 10 minutes left, so I'm going to talk about the latest initiative, and then I'll open it up to questions if you guys have any questions, if we have time for that. Complaints at Peavey Mart. So I say what complaint, and that might be a little bold of a statement, but last year we started doing different kind of customer service training in our store. And we in this room all know customer service, and we know what it means, and we know how to do it. But when you're dealing with retail across the country with up to 3,000 employees, it is darn near impossible for everybody to live the same vision that you have and really have people understanding what your vision is. So we did things a bit differently, and we started doing empathy training. I just learned recently that empathy is no longer an inherited Canadian trait. It is actually going down, which is sad, but also important to talk about. So we decided to do empathy training across all of our stores, and we just give a really quick story of our staff putting themselves in the customer's shoes, but really really believing that, not just saying that. So making sure that when the customer comes in the store, they treat them like family. We always say, picture your mother, your sister, your brother, your father, your best friend walking in and the service they would get. And so we empowered our people to be different, and we made certain changes with the way they operate. So if we're out of stock, because like I said earlier, we're not perfect and we do run into problems, we just empowered our staff to use their empathy training to sell something similar for the discounted price if it was on sale. We just empowered them to take that initiative themselves and make those changes. And a year of talking about empathy and really explaining to us what empathy meant, our complaints are down 95% across Western Canada. So that was a pretty bold testament to the empathy training. One of our stores that received the most complaints did a 360. That manager actually held different empathy training sessions with his employees and reiterates it every day. We went from being the negative complaint store in the company to the store that receives positive recognition every week from our customers. So we did a 360 and the results are stunning. That's where I close today. My recap was people are the culture. Leadership cultivates the people. Training must be a vision that comes from everyone. Partnering in your community is more than just a sponsorship. And when employees care, anything is possible. Thank you. I think I have a couple minutes for questions, 5 minutes for questions if anybody has anything. We did develop it ourselves, but with help of David Foster Wallace. David Foster Wallace did a speech, I believe, to Harvard University students, and the speech is easily found on YouTube, and I recommend everybody in this room watches it. It's called This Is Water. There's a really great video that was done with This Is Water, which kind of walks you through, it's not retail focused whatsoever, it's empathy focused, and it really explains what that means without actually saying that. We made everybody in our company watch that video with us while we did the empathy training, and then we dissected it and what that meant. That video has been watched about 5,000 times in our organization now, so people go back to reference it constantly. And it really, even for me on a personal basis, puts things into a perspective of the kind of person that I want to be in life, and I think that it really drives those results. This Is Water, David Foster Wallace. He wrote Infinite Jest, which is not a segue to anything. Yes. So the question was, how do we encourage buy-in from our employees to foster the culture that we have? It's a great question, because it might have a lot to do with the type of retailer we are and the smaller communities we're in. I think the number one takeaway from that would be that we allow them to own a lot of what happens with the community work that they do. We give them the ability to decide that they want to do something, and we say yes. All of our stores have a budget that allows them to give to community groups. So just stuff like that. Anytime there's an event or somebody wants to do an event, there's never a no. We just ask how we can help. So I think when you put the ability in your employee's hand to do that, you'll see amazing things. All right, thank you guys very much for letting me speak today. I had a blast, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day.
That was excellent. Thanks, Jess. I just got something here for you if you just want to hang out here for a sec. I just wanted to make a couple points that resonated with me. He mentioned how you don't create culture in an office, but leadership must foster it. So I just love how so many of the Peavey initiatives empower the employees, which has got to lead to a high level of engagement there. And then just a quick little story that I was reminded of when he was talking. When Service was having some training in Edmonton recently, I was at a table with one of our rural branch managers, and we're all talking about the stores we're going to hit while we're in the city and that kind of stuff. And her comment was, well, I always say if you can't find it at Peavey Mart, you probably just don't need it. So, it's kind of funny, but anyways, thanks again, Jess, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rod, and thank you, Jest. I knew it was a great idea to have him as a keynote. Yeah, for sure. So you've probably noticed some tables with black tablecloths. Those are for our VIP attendees. So I see this one not being used. Where are you, VIPs? Anyway, that's what it's for. If you'd like to upgrade your ticket, go to registration. So at this point, I want Ranchelle Van Bryce and Susan Walker to stick up their hand. There's Ranchelle. Is Susan here? She is here somewhere. She must be out there. So Ranchelle will be your MC in the main trade area for the day, and Susan is going to introduce speakers in the chalet for the day. And where's Perry Kincaid? Come on up, Perry. Perry is this year's partner for Success for Business. He is from Alberta Council of Technologies, a leader in technology education and everything surrounding education. And so I would like you to say just a few words, and you can maybe introduce. Is it time to introduce our next speaker? When is our next speaker? Okay, so we have a bit of a break, but Perry's going to say a word or two, and at 9:20, let's see, I'm going to look in our book here, F12, The Future of Automation, is in here, and myself and Ian Hartley, he said, she said, Bridging the Gap Between Men and Women in Business, is in the chalet. Welcome, Perry.
Thank you, Brenda. A word or two. Good morning. Indeed, I am the president and the founder and the co-host, whatever, with the Alberta Council of Technologies. But let me give you a little bit of color of that about the society and why this event is so important to us, and why I think it should be important to you. And obviously, you know that, or you wouldn't be here. Brenda and I made contact some months ago, and the Alberta Council of Technologies runs an event each year in Red Deer, usually at Red Deer College, called Creating the New Alberta. And what that event is about, and it echoes most of what we do, is trying to educate people in Alberta about the emergence of new technologies, many of which you are the champions of, the entrepreneurs of, the innovators of, which is why we wanted to be here today to meet you. Not only do we educate the people of Alberta about emerging technologies and their relevance, but we also are extremely strong on networking, the building of community. We found that with emerging technologies, there are no networks. Because they are emerging, the networks haven't yet formed, and that's critical for small business. And as you all know, networking is fundamental to your success, and I think that message will be repeated over and over again. But if there are not networks, if there aren't events like this, then you function in isolation. And the reality is to make it through that so-called valley of death, to make it to success, to survive, to grow, to stay, requires a whole array of money, marketing, management, manpower, moxie, mergers, marriages, metrics, a lot of things, M&Ms, in order to grow. The Alberta Council of Technology's third element of its mission, besides educating the people, besides networking, is to ensure the development of an innovation ecosystem. An innovation ecosystem is very much what this event is championing, and it is the relevance of innovation to enable us to stay on top of markets, to enable us to understand our staff, to know the customer almost better than the customer knows himself. That world is a world of data. That world is a digital world. That is a world we're going into. E-commerce didn't kick off 10 years ago, but it's certainly alive and well today. The Alberta Council of Technology is excited to be here today. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to introduce some of your keynotes. If you want to know more about the Alberta Council of Technologies, you can meet me, washroom, wherever. In any case, thank you, Brenda, for the invitation. I really look forward to meeting many of you, maybe all of you, during the course of the day, and thank you very much.